which includes the critical thinking, which includes design thinking, and the topics like that. So if you see, when if we'll talk about the decision making, if we'll talk about the importance of analytical skills, so these all sort of skills, they basically are the arms of this problem solving skills, right? Because for the problem solving, you should have the research skills, you should have the good research skills, you should have the emotional intelligence, right? Your EQ should be good, you should have decision making skills, and things like that, right? You should have the good analytical skills. So if you'll see the job descriptions, you will get to know that all these sort of skills, all these sort of critical skills, they are exactly linked towards the problem solving, right? If you have the good analytical skills, if you will have the good lateral thinking, if you will have a good decision making skills, then you will be able to solve your daily life problems, be it your personal problems, be it your professional problems, right? Okay. So again, it was a survey. I was generally reading a survey of a World Economic Forum, right? So that survey basically says that the educators and the policymakers, they agree that the creative problem solving is important for the students to learn in the schools. That's what we have previously talked about as well, that these are the skills that should be the part of our degree coursework. They should be the part of our professional development workshops, and they should be the part of the organizational trainings as well, right? Because the critical or the complex problem solving is all about the process of redefining the problems, the process of redefining the problems and opportunities. You come up with the innovative responses and the solutions, and then it's all about taking actions on those solutions, right? So these are the skills that are critical to the students' ability to succeed in their future workplace. That's what this report by World Economic Forum says that, right? And it also says that almost, I think the 90% of the respondents, they believe that the students who excel at the creative problem solving, they will have the higher earning job opportunities. And not only that, the 85% respondents, they basically agree that these same skills are in high demand by today's employers for from the senior level or from the top level management, right? And if we'll generally dig out, or if we'll generally see that, because I think most of you who have joined me in my this workshop session, right? You may be from different fields. You may be from the human resource management field. You may be from the policy making field. You may be from the research fields. You name it, right? So these are the sort of different fields that came to my mind that I have mentioned here, right? Because for the policy making even, you should be a good problem solver, right? You cannot formulate and you cannot devise any of the strategy if you'll not be a good researcher, right? If you'll not have any idea about what exactly is the prevailing problem in the country, what exactly is the prevailing problem in our educational institutes or even in the organizations as well, right? So you first of all, you just seek out the problem. You see what exactly is the pain and the problem. Then you'll see different steps to solve that problem, right? Same goes for the research, right? You do a research on different topics. You first of all dig out what exactly is the problem that is existing or that is prevailing in our society, that is prevailing in our surroundings, right? And then you do a research on it, and then you come up with the different solutions, then you come up with the different policies. In the same way, being a human resource management person, or if I'll talk about myself, being a human resource manager, you should be a good problem solver, right? Because you are managing the human capital, you are managing the employees of the organization, right? And obviously those employees would be coming towards you for their queries, for their concerns, and you should be answerable to to their queries, to their problems, right? So for that purpose, you should have the good problem solving skills. Same goes for the marketing and the sales. For example, if you are working in the sales department, you should have an idea. Let's say if your product is not functioning perfectly, or if it's not generating enough profits, right? Then you will definitely seek out the loopholes. You'll definitely seek out what exactly is lacking, which is stopping for the sales for generating that profits, right? And the same goes for the software engineers, same goes for the different developers in the field of information and technology. And a very important thing is the problem solving skills are very much important for the strategic level positions, right? Uh, that is the executive positions, the managerial positions, and the top level positions, right? Because at the end of the day, you should devise those strategies, you should devise those problems that would be effective and efficient for your organizations, right? For your organizational goals, for the profit generations for your organizations, right? So you should know what exactly is the problem that is prevailing in your organization and how strategically you can mitigate those problems and come up with those solutions to regulate the profits in your organization, right? Okay, so yeah, so this is just a quotation by the anonymous author, I would say. They say that the problems are the center of many people do at work, right? In your daily work routines, in your daily life, you encounter the daily life problems. And again, some problems can be complex, some problems can be simple, some problems can be so chaotic. So there are all different sort of the problems that you'll be facing in your daily life, be it at your work, be it at your personal or professional life, right? Okay, that's a very interesting thing, and that is a very obvious thing that all problems have sorry, all the problems have two features in common, right? Because whenever you face any of the problem, it has two parts. The first one is your goals, and the second one is your barriers, right? Because problem exactly emerges, problem exactly occurs when you have certain set of the goals. For example, the goal can be anything, right? Let's say I'll give you the very simple example. Let's say if I'm hungry right now, right? That's my problem, right? But my goal would be to eat something, right? Be it some Mac burger or be it anything. In the same way, the CEO of any organization, they may have some certain set of the goals that they wish to achieve in their organization, right? So they may have certain sort of objectives and the desired state of affairs, right? So, because problem involves setting out to achieve some objectives or the desired state of your goals, and they can even include avoiding any situation in your personal life, right? Your problem or your goal can be to avoid a certain sort of situation which triggers you, right? In the same way, if you see on the definition of the barriers, right? If there were no barriers in the way of achieving the goal, whatever is your goal, whatever is the situation you are looking to avoid, if there would be no barriers, then obviously there would be no problem, right? Because problem happens when those barriers come on your way of achieving your goals. They can be, they become the obstacles in your way of achieving your goals, right? So the problems has either have two features, that is the goals and the barriers, right? If there would be no barriers, then there would be no problem. Okay, so let's come towards the different types of the problems, right? it's not necessary that there would be only these four sort of the problems, right? As I have said in the start of this discussion session, that it can be possible that the techniques and the tools and the types of the problems, the nature of the problems we'll be discussing here in this workshop, they can vary with your types of the problems, with your situations or your events or whatever, right? So it's basically the Sinefin framework. We call it a Sinefin framework, and it was devised by a guy who was working at IBM back in I guess 1999, right? He came up with the way of looking at the problems to help people to know what kind of the problems they are facing and what kind of the solutions that they should be looking to resolve those problems, right? And he called it a Sinefin framework because Sinefin is a Welsh word and its meaning is habitat, right? Habitat it's because you need to know where exactly you stand at your problem, right? You should have an idea about where exactly is your problem lies and in which state and at which phase you stand in your problem, right? So moving on towards with the first type of the problem, that is a simple problem, right? As the name suggests that the simple problem is very much simple and obvious. You have an idea about the solution, right? Your problem is known to you. You are familiar with that what exactly is your problem and what exactly would be the solution, right? So the cause and the effect in this case is very much clear to you, right? And you can apply the known recipe from your bag of the tricks. You can apply your different mechanisms, your coping mechanisms to come up with the different solution, right? For example, let me just give you an example on, um, let's say if I have a problem of getting up early in the morning for the 8 a.m. class, right? Now, I know my problem, right? Getting late is my problem. But I also know the solution because I also know that if I get late in my 8 a.m. class, then if I sleep on the time, if I would, let's say, if I would sleep on time, then I would definitely wake up early in the morning. And if I wake up early in the morning, then the chances are there that I will not get late for my 8 a.m. class, right? So you are familiar with the problem. You are obvious about the solution of that problem, right? So this is known as the simple problem. Now comes the complicated problem, right? So the complicated problem occurs when you don't know the answer or the solution to your problem, right? But you know where you should go for it, right? So you should have an idea about the domain of the expert, right? Because in this problem, the expert is needed because if you are knowledgeable enough, you will eventually find the cause and the effect, right? Let me just give again an example because we will be relating all these things with our professional life. We'll be relating all these things with our personal life, right? For example, I have a car, right? And my car is making weird noises, right? So now I have an idea about the problem that my car is making the noises, but I'm not sure about why exactly it is making the noises and what exactly would be the solution to this problem, right? So it's obvious that I would go towards the mechanic or I would take my car to the workshop because that's where uh, the expert would be there to sort out the solution, right? So eventually my cause and the effect can be found with the help of that expert. It may happen that in our daily lives, or even if since I am an HR professional, so I'll be quoting my examples from my workplace, or if I'll be quoting my examples in that context. You can have, or you can relate those examples in your mind with your daily life routine, right? So let's say if my organization is facing the turnover rate, right? It's the turnover rate of the employees is very much high in my organization. So what would I do, right? To my maximum knowledge, to my maximum capacity, I would try to come up with a solution, but still, um, I cannot do as much better as some managers, as some HR manager, or as some recruitment agency can dig out the problem, right? So I'll definitely be taking some expert on the board to resolve that issue, because with the passage of the time, the thing started becoming complicated, and I know there's a problem, but I'm not sure about the solution, right? So eventually the time will come when that recruitment agency would suggest me the solution to my problem. So eventually the cause and the effect of that problem, that would be found, right? So that's what happen in our complicated problem. Yep. Okay. Now comes towards the third type of the problem, that is the complex problem. Okay, right now. So what happened is when the answers are not known, right? It may happen that there most of us wrestle with the complex problems, right? All the time. The answers are not known, and all the forces and the solutions are not known. Even the cause and the effect of that problem is also not known, right? It may happen in our daily life at times that we are unable to sort out that what exactly is happening and why exactly is that thing happening, right? We have no idea about that thing, right? So what we can do in this situation, we can have a hit and the trial method, right? We can try to come up with one thing, and then we can see if that thing is exactly working or not. And if that thing is not working, we can come up with a different solution. And then again, we can see if that specific solution, which we have again applied in that situation, is it working or not, right? So a series of small experimentations can be done in order to resolve the complex problems. um, I'll quote the example of my organization. I was working with one of the retail sector, with a retail sector industry organization, and they have started seeing, or they started to analyze some past trends of their sales, right? They noticed that the in the past their sales were kind of high, whereas in the coming days, or in the current situations, their sales were not doing as effective as they wanted to be, right? So what they have done is they try to come up with a different solution. They try to introduce one policy. That policy didn't work. Then they come up with some other policy. That policy also didn't work. So what they exactly thought of that, they eventually come up with the strategy that rather than introducing the big malls in our different towns, how about go towards opening some grocery stores, or how about opening some small scale local stores in different towns, right? And eventually that strategy worked, and their sales basically resumed at the same level which they had been receiving in their past rates. So that's how you come up with the different solutions, by the doing the hit and the trial thing, right? That's how you solve your complex problems. Yeah. Okay, that's a very interesting thing. It's often said that any action is better than no action. It does not matter what you do. It does not. It just matters that you do in order to learn and move forward, right? Um, it's in the complex problem. The action is the major requirement, right? if you not take any actions, if you keep on wondering that why, what exactly happened, why it happened, and what would happen in the future as well, if you keep on thinking about those things and if you not take any actions to them, then this problem would not be solved, right? So action is very much necessary, right? And again, I was reading a book, and there was a very beautiful line mentioned in that book. That was, a trouble is not ignorance, but inaction, right? Um, Ignorance has never been the answer, but our inactions to those sort of situations, our inactions to those sort of the problems, that is exactly the needed in any of the situation. Be it the simple problem, be it your complicated problem, and be it even in the complex problems, right? And here I would like to relate it with a personal life as well. For example, if we'll talk about inaction, right? If you are talking about taking any of the actions, right? Um, I think for taking any actions in that specific situation, for taking the actions in that specific problem, um, we cannot take actions until and unless we have no hope alive in ourselves, right? Hope is very much necessary to keep on to keep going on in any of the situation, right? And the hope with the combination of the faith, right? If you have these combos with yourself, then I guess eventually the time will come when the things would eventually make a sense, when your solutions would come up to you, with the help of the with this hit and trial method, right? Because it is often said that keep on wandering around the forest until you find that one specific tree. That's what hit and trial method do to us, right? If you have a faith in yourself, if you have a hope in yourself alive, then I think eventually the time would come when you would get the solution to your problems, be it your professional problems, be it your personal problems. Okay, the fourth type of the problem, that is the chaotic problem, right? Again, we often face this chaotic problem, and we call these chaotic problems as more of a crisis, right? At times, in the chaotic problem or in the crisis, the quick actions to encapsulate the problem is needed, right? At times, the problem is so big, the problem is so sudden that you move towards the crisis, right? So, in order to solve that problems, in order to understand the situation, first you have to encapsulate the big problem in the small one, right? To limit that big problem in the small one, right? And that's how you pull up from the chaotic phase to the complex phase, where somehow you have an idea about what exactly is the problem, and you can take the hit and the trial approach, right? Hit and the trial approach in the crisis, they can be felt terrible, they can be felt terrifying, they can be felt panicky, or fearful, and things like that, right? But in such sort of the problems, you have to figure the escape routes. You have to think diligently. You have to take the diligent action, right? You cannot make any delays in times of the crisis. The best example would be this ongoing pandemic situation, right? For example, when this pandemic situation, when this COVID-19 situation happened, right, there happened a crisis all over the world. There happened economic crisis, there happened this social crisis, there happened some personal psychological crisis like that, right? So now what the leaders of different countries did at that specific moment, right? They come up with the solution, they come up with the diligent solution to encapsulate that big crisis, to limit that big crisis in the small one. That is, they implement the curfew in some countries, they implement the lockdown situation in some countries to encapsulate exactly the problem, right? And then with the passage of the time, they keep on iterating, right? They keep on trying something, and they keep on seeing the response of that policy. They try to keep the response of that approach, which they had to diligently implement in their country, right? For example, in some countries, like if I'll talk about my country, Pakistan, uh, first they came up with the solution of the complete lockdown, right? But then they, after having the complete lockdown in the country, they realized that the situations are getting worse in terms of economical way, in terms of economical situations, right? So they come up, and then again they come up with the idea of the smart lockdown, and then they come up with some sort of different ideas, some specific areas, some specific main areas that should be in the lockdown, right? So in crisis, you keep on iterating the things, you keep on trying, different things, you keep on doing experiments. Obviously, I'll not call it the experiment, but I would say it's the diligent approach to encapsulate the situation, right? You see if that situation exactly functions or not, right? So, and there is a positive side of the crisis. New ways of doing things will emerge as the people try to figure out how to work in an environment that did not exist the day before, right? Um, it's for example, again, if we'll see this pandemic situation, it has given you the opportunity to many educational institutes or to many organizations to go digitized, to become digitized. In many countries, the education system have become digitized. Many organizations, they have started working from the home, and they have even realized that um, uh, I think employees can work effectively from work from home or from remotely as effectively as they work from the office location, right? So with the crisis, there definitely comes a new way of doing things. There definitely comes a way of new ways of opportunities. Opportunity rises in the crisis. And if we'll see in our daily life routine as well, if we'll relate it with our daily life as well, we will realize uh, that there happen some problems. We often face some sort of the problems in our life, in the crisis in our lives, which later on makes you a totally different person, which later on makes you a totally different, strong person, right? So that's what we are talking about. And it's a very good quotation which says that the pressure turns coal into the diamond, and it can bring the value and the beauty out of you too, if you allow it to, right? So it's all about taking the diligent actions. It's all about taking, or it's all about having that the faith, having that hope, which we were talking previously. If you allow it, then the coal will one day turn into a diamond, definitely, right? It's just like we often say that the blessing in disguise situation. Okay, now comes the problem solving process, right? Just hold on. I have to see the slides. Okay. So the problem solving process, and many of you who have joined me in this um, session, they would be familiar with this 6-step problem solving process, right? At times it happens that whatever we studied theoretically, we didn't realize at the time of studying it that it has the direct implication in our daily lives. It has those practical implications in our daily lives, right? So we'll go through this 6-step process, and we'll see what exactly it is all about, right? So the first step in solving your problems, they can be the personal, again, they can be personal problems, they can be your, I would say, they can be your professional problems as well. The first step is all about problem identification, right? Uh, Defining your problem. Problem identification is all about defining your problem, right? So you should know what exactly is the problem you are facing. You should know what exactly is the nature of that problem. As we have previously talked about different types of the problem, we should know what exactly is the habitat or where we actually stand in our problem, right? What exactly is the type of the problem which we are facing, right? So, and secondly, is it really a problem, or is it becoming an obstacle in my way of achieving the goal, or is it exactly becoming that barrier in achieving my goals or not, right? So first we have to dig out all these solutions. We have to dig out. We have to dive in to see what exactly is our problem which we are facing, because if you will be unclear about this first step, you'll not be able to move on towards the other step. And if you, even if you move on towards the next step of this problem solving process, your solutions would not make sense to you. Your solutions would not be proved effective for you, whether it would be your personal problem or whether it would be about implementing any policy, about implementing any strategy in your organization. That would not function as efficiently as it should be, because the gap or the loopholes uh, happened in this very first step, right? So defining your problem and to identify your problem is the next, is the very first step to solve your problems. Yeah. So there is an author, Ruby and the Kipling. These are the two authors. I was reading a book on the other day, and they have mentioned this quotation at the start of the book. They have mentioned that I keep six honest serving men, and they taught me all I knew. And these six serving men are what, why, uh, and when, how, and where, and who. Unfortunately, it's often discouraged, and we are not encouraged to question things. We are not being encouraged to question about whys of the things, right? So all these why, how, where, and who, and when, right? So you, yeah, okay. Helen, if you can just confirm me if my voice is coming
Yes,
perfectly. If you can
yes,
just,
we can hear you
okay,
well.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. So we should have an idea about the what and the whys and the hows and the wheres and the whos of the things, right? In order to solve the problems, in order to even function effectively, right? Because if I'll relate it with the cognitive behavioral therapy, if I'll relate it with the psychological side, right? All of you must be aware about the CBT, that is the cognitive behavioral therapies. And it's often said that the relevant question in the psychiatry is not what, it's why, right? It's not encouraged to ask someone what exactly happened to you, right? It's often encouraged to think about why it happened to you, right? You have to dig out the cause of the problem, right? If someone has the fever, right? Um, and you know that if that specific person has a fever, right? You won't say, I think you will only be familiar about the effect of the problem, right? The effect of the problem is exactly the fever, but you would not have any idea about what exactly caused that fever, right? If you'll not be able to identify, to dig that cause of the things, you'll not be able to identify the effects of the things, right? to get to know what exactly because fever is the symptom, right? You should know um, what is causing the fever, right? So that's how you dig out your problems. Okay, yeah. So the second step is finding the cause and the root cause of the problems or conducting the research, which is my favorite part, right? So, yeah. So again, as I was telling you that you should know about the cause of the problem. You should know that you should have done the cause and effect analysis about your problems. What exactly is causing your problem? Why did the problem happen at the first phase? And how did it happen? Why? What could have prevented the problem? What steps would have been taken to prevent those problems? Okay, so let me just tell you, in this phase, you may have heard about the brainstorming thing, right? The brainstorming technique. Brainstorming is one of my favorite parts because while doing the brainstorming, you come up with the causes of the problem, right? If I'll, okay, so if I can just draw the thing here, just hold on. Okay, so how can we access that the cause of the problem, or how can we do the brainstorming thing, right? Let me just open this thing for you. Just hold on. Okay, so let's say if I am working in the HR department, and again my organization is facing the turnover rate, the high turnover rate of the employees in my organization, right? And I am looking for the solution that how can I basically retain my employees in the organization, right? So how would I do this specific brainstorming things to come up with different solutions to my problem, right? We can say that, let me just do that. Yeah. Okay, so let's say retention of the employees is my issue, right? On. Okay, so employee retention is my issue. That is my problem, right? Piece for problem. Now, what exactly I would be doing? I would do just make a scale, right? I would come up with different solutions, right? It's often known as the fish scale analysis, right? Because fish has scales and like that. I'm very much bad in drawing, so you can imagine this, right? So fish has sort of these of the scales. So that's how we will be doing brainstorming, right? Retention is my problem. That's my problem. Okay. So now I would think of different solutions that what exactly is, I mean, how can I solve this problem, right? How can I come up with different solutions? Because I got to know about the cause and I got to know about the effect. Now, I'll be thinking, what can I do? I can introduce some retention policy. Um, Okay, I can introduce the retention policy. I can look at my organizational environment. If my organizational environment is friendly enough, if my organization environment is conducive enough to make the employees stay in my organization or not, right? Then I can think of the benefits, if whether I'm paying enough benefits to that to the employees or not. If the packages, salary packages, if I'm offering them, are they market competitive enough to make the employees stay in my organization, or if there would some other issues like that, right? There can be a number of issues against your problem, right? So that's how you can brainstorm the solutions. You can brainstorm the things, what exactly is causing the turnover rate in your organizations, right? That's what you can do. Okay. Oh my God. Just hold on. Right. Just hold on. All right. So that's how we can do the brainstorming thing to identify what exactly is causing the problems and how we can come up with the solutions. Now, uh, looking for the third step in solving the problem is about looking for the possible solutions, right? In this stage, you will be generating the range of the possible course of the actions. You would be looking for the different solutions. You come up with the different solutions. You can have informal meetings with your colleagues. They would suggest you, they would brainstorm different ideas that this can be the solution, that can be the solution, and things like that, right? So as we have previously discussed that we come up with the different sort of the solutions that the solution to retain our employees can be to implement to make our organizational culture effective enough, to make our organizational culture conducive enough. Then we can revise our benefits plans. We can revise our remuneration packages. We can see if we are paying the employees competitive enough, if we are paying the employees as our competitors are paying. So we come up with the different solutions. We brainstorm the things. We list down different brainstorm answers, and uh, after coming up with different solutions, we will pick and choose one possible solution. We can select the one solution from all the brainstormed, from the list of all the brainstormed solutions or the answers, right? And let me just tell you, this is what you can do in your personal life as well. You can dig out different solutions to your problem. For example, if I'm facing anything, I can say that, okay, this is the one solution to my problem. This can also be the solution, and that can also be the solution. Then I can pick and choose that one solution among the all the brainstormed answers, keeping in view if that specific solution would be doable for me or not, if that would be suitable for me or not, right? So these are the things that can be implemented in your organization, and this process can be implemented in your personal life as well, right? Okay, now comes the time of selecting that solution from all those brainstormed fish scales ideas, right? Um, you will pick up one solution, and it's let me just tell you, it's one of the most complex part of the problem solving, because you will be picking up that one specific solution which would be suitable for your needs. You have to see, if you are working in any organization, you would have to see if that specific sort of solution is suitable for you or not, right? If it's if you would be having enough budget to implement the solution or not. If you'll be implementing any policy, you would have to see if you have enough budget to implement that policy or not, right? So you would have to see all these things too in order to analyze it, in order to analyze one solution from the set of the different brainstormed ideas. Yeah, that is the fourth step. Now coming towards the fifth and the sixth step, that is the implementation of the ideas. Now, the things somehow become light or become easy in these two steps. It's not easy, but somehow things become light. Now, in the fourth step, you will be pick and choose that one solution, and in the fifth step, you will be implementing that one solution in your organization, right? You will be taking action on that solution, right? And the process of this problem solving does not stop here, right? when you implement anything, when even in your personal life or even in your professional life, you just have to see if that thing is I think if that thing is working effectively or not, right? You evaluate the things, you take the feedback from your peers, you take the feedback from your people, right? For example, if I'll talk about if I'll talk about just generally about the communication skills, and if I'm debating somewhere, right? um, I would be doing these things, and then I would be taking feedback from different people, right? The purpose of the feedback is always to improve yourself. It's always to know about the loopholes, that how we can improve ourselves and how we can improve the processes which we implement in any organization, right? So evaluation is very much necessary, because it will tell you that the solution which you have implemented in your organization, is it working effectively or not? Is it giving you those profit returns or not, right? And let's say if it does not work effectively as you have expected, then the process of problem solving does not end here, right? You again, it's just an example of the hit and retry thing, right? You again start this overall procedure again, because it's a circular process. This last stage of the circle is the valuation, and if that thing is not effective, then again you will start this process. Again, you will think of the loophole. Again, you will think to come up with different solutions, to pick up one solution among all, and then you will implement that thing, right? Okay, so some people are raising hands. Let me just tell you, we will be taking your questions at the end of the sessions. We will be including them to know your views as well, right? Okay, so that's how we can sum up our 6-step problem solving model. You define the problem, you determine the root cause of the problem, you develop the alternative solutions, you select the solution, you implement the solution, and then you evaluate that solution, right? Or if you optimistically see that in this circle, you will see that yeah. Okay. So you see that the first step is always about getting the facts, right? The first step is always about the problem identification. Um, that's where you get to know what exactly is the problem. Then you brainstorm, you define the problem, and come up, you structure the problem, you seek the root cause analysis, you come up with the different solutions, and then you strategically pick up one solution and strategically implement it. Then you evaluate the solution, keeping in view your budget constraints, keeping in view your personal things, and then you take an action against that thing, right? And it does not end here. You again, after the action, you again see, you again revise if it's working effectively or not. And if it's not working effectively, then, right? So it's a repeated process. It's not that the final solution, the last solution will be the final solution, right? So yeah. Okay. Now these were the process. That was quite technical, and that was quite theoretical, right? So again, since at the start of the session, I quoted Dale Carnegie, because luckily I was reading this book nowadays, and he basically explained about the experiences of different people, of the different businessmen, about the different students he used to taught, and he summed up their experiences in solving those problems, in overcoming the worry about different problems, right? And Galen Litchfield, he was a famous American businessman who have quoted his story in this book. The story has been quoted in this book. He was a very famous American businessman. He mentioned that he was going through different situations. He was going through different complex and the chaotic situations in his time, right? And what method he adopted was this, right? At times it happens that even if I talk about myself, if I encounter any of the situation, what I do is I do writings, right? I note down the things. I do brainstorming by writing the things, right? I make two columns. The one is the pros and one is the cons, right? I'll see what are the pros of the solution which I will be taking and the decision which I would be taking, and what would be the cons of the decisions which I would be taking, right? So that's how I write down things. You may have different techniques as well to solve the problems, and the technique which I like was by the Galen Litchfield, and he even mentioned after that that he owns the large part of his success by analyzing problems by implementing this technique. So, what exactly this technique is all about? He mentioned that he used to write down what exactly am I worrying about, right? If I would not have any idea about what exactly am I worrying about, then nothing would make sense to you, right? It's obvious that if you have no idea about what exactly is the problem, you'll not be able to solve or you'll not be able to move ahead, right? So knowing your problem is very much important thing. So you just write down what exactly am I worrying about, the things I am worrying about, and then you can think about what exactly you can do about them, right? About the problems, about the worries you have mentioned, what exactly you can do about them, right? There would be some problems when you list down things. There would be some problems to which there would be no solution, right? Uh, they would not be in your circle of control, right? There are some things which are not in your circle of the control, while there are some things which are exactly in your control and you can do it. So that's how you can write down all these things and you can think about what exactly I can do about it, right? And then you would be deciding what to do, what action I can be taking, what actions I would be taking to solve that specific worry, right? And after deciding what can be done, you just do the action. You don't wait or you don't become double minded that whatever I have think, whatever I have decided, is it right or not? You just immediately take the action about that thing, right? So these are the four steps technique that Galen Litchfield has mentioned while telling his about his story. And I would suggest everyone to read about this book with Dale Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Okay, so it's often said that the problem half stated is the problem half solved. Again, the things comes if you will have an idea about what exactly is the problem, right? Then believe that you are halfway there. You are halfway on the way of solving those problems, right? You are 50% there because to understand the issues, to understand the problem is the first step. If you get to know about what exactly is triggering your problem, what exactly is triggering those situations or the events in your life, then you will be able to solve them. And you are just halfway there. And okay, so again, in the book I was reading, there was a professor, he was the dean of Columbia College, who have helped around 200,000 students to solve their worry problem. Professor Herbert E. Hawks. He mentioned that half the way is caused by the people trying to make a decision before they have sufficient knowledge on which to base a decision on, right? If you would not have any idea about the knowledge of what exactly is your worry and what steps you would be taking on, right? You cannot base a decision on those things. You cannot make a decision. You cannot do the decision making on those things. Okay, now, I'll be sharing about the very interesting thing. You may have be familiar with Edward de Bono's Six Thinking Hat process. Again, it's a book and it's a very interesting book. And Edward de Bono, he was basically the consultant. He was the physician. He was the author of the book, The Six Thinking Hat Process. And in his book, he came up with the idea of different beliefs, right? Each hat occupies a different role in and bring its own perspective to solve a prevailing problem at the table, right? Each hat has different color that represent a specific mindset. So he founded the concept of lateral thinking. He founded this concept and come up with the book of Six Thinking Hats. So according to him, there are six thinking hats which you can wear depending on your situation, depending on that prevailing problem. Right. So and in this basically this process of a six thinking hat, this is basically used for idea generation, and this is basically used for team making decisions, right? The techniques which we have studied so far in the previous slides, they were related to the individual problem solving, organizational problem solving, but this one is specifically about the team work, about the team decision making, right? Just hold on. Okay, so there are six hats, and each hat represents a different mindset, right? There is a blue hat, there is a green hat, then comes the white hat, then comes the yellow hat, red hat, and then eventually the black hat. So I'll give you the brief introduction about each hat, and will tell you that in what situation you can wear that specific hat, right? When you are stuck in some organizational position, right? You may have different team members in your team, right? And each member would have the unique mindset. Each member would have the unique way to perceive the problems, to address the problems, and to address the issues, and to give different perspectives about that problem, right? So the blue hat is all about the concentrating on controlling the process. It's about the process, right? And usually the managers or the team leads, they basically wear this cap. When you lead a group of the team, right? This is when you wear a hat, because you will be addressing the questions like what problems are we facing, what can be the desired outcomes, and what is the most effective way to solve that problem, right? So the team lead, or the, we can say the managers, or we can say, if I talk about the directors, the movie directors, they would be wearing this hat, right? And they would be taking the feedback from different fields. The managers, for example, if I'm the manager, I should have a good harmony with the other thinking hats, right? I should have harmony with the person. I should be taking the feedback from the person, the point of view from the person who would be wearing the green hat, who would be wearing the yellow hat, white hat, and the red hat, and so on, right? And after analyzing everyone's decisions, I would be the one who would be uh, taking who would be setting some agenda to solve that problem, and on the basis of that, I would be taking some action, right? Then comes the white hat, right? So the white hat is all about, uh, sorry, yeah. So the white hat is all about the facts and the figures, right? It focuses on the information available. When you wear a white hat, you analyze the past trends, you analyze the marketing trends, you analyze the facts and the figures, and on the basis of that, you come up with a different solution, you come up with a different perspective about that problem, right? So that's what the person with the red or white hat would be doing, right? And now comes the yellow hat. Yellow hat people, they are the most optimistic people in your team, right? They would see the benefits of the decision. They would have certain mindset which says that where there is a will, there is a way. right? They refuse to accept that there is no solution to any of the problem, right? They are that sort of optimistic people, right? They eventually says that there must have some solution to the prevailing problem, right? So what the questions they would be addressing would be, what's the best approach they can use, what are the long terms of that problem, and what would be the positive outcome of that problem. For example, again, if I'm facing the turnover rate in my company, the yellow, the white hat, the person with the white hat, he would be giving me the past trends, right? He would be giving me the facts and the figures, the market facts and the figures, that the ABC organization is adopting this technique, and this technique is proved to be this much useful in the retention of the employees. So they would be giving me that sort of information, right? Whereas the people with the red hat, they would be giving me the positive outcomes. They would be giving me the benefits of introducing that specific retention strategy in my organization, right? They would be giving me that positive feedback about that thing. Now come towards the people with the red hat, right? The people with the red hat are the ones that are driven emotionally, right? They make their decisions on the basis of the emotions, on the basis of the gut feelings, and on the basis of the intuition, right? And even while knowing about all these things, you can right now place yourself in one of the hat. You can analyze yourself that in what sort of, in which hat you exactly comes in, right? So there are some people who make the decisions on the basis of the gut feeling, on the basis of epiphany, right? On the basis of that sudden aha feeling, which we call it the aha feeling, that yes, this is the right answers. So these are the things the people with the red hat make decisions on. They are they are more concerned about, for example, if I'll be implementing the retention strategy in my organization, they would be thinking what this strategy, what this policy would make the employees feel, right? What would be the emotional reactions of the employees? Would it be beneficial for them? And would it be the internal conflict about because of that policy, or if it can happen the team issues because of these policies. So they do access these sort of the things while making any decision, right? Okay, now comes the people with the green hat. They are the most creative people. They come up with the creative solution to the problem. Uh, they do think that how we can adopt a unique perspective, how we can think outside the box. They are not bound by the rules or the frameworks while making their decisions. They are the most creative people, right? For example, if I would be in this hat, then I would be thinking that the retention strategy which I can be adopting in my organization can be to introduce some employee engagement activities, right? I can engage the employees in different activities. So that's how I can retain them rather than coming up with the logical solutions, rather than coming up with some hard and fast severe policies. So when you think the people with the green hat think outside of the box to solve any of the problem, right? Okay, now comes up with the people with the black hat, right? So the people with the black hat, they access the negative outcomes of the decisions. They seek out the different things, that why something might not work and what exactly can go wrong while implementing that specific sort of policy, while implementing that specific sort of solution, right? So they think at worst case scenarios, and they can do that beforehand, right? And it's often say that we should always think about. There was a psychologist I was listening to on another day, and he said that it's very good to jump onto the worst conclusions, right? Because what happened is, when you think of the worst, or when you think of the worst outcome, or the worst case scenario, what you would be doing is, you would be preparing yourself beforehand, and you would be thinking about how can I improve that situation, right? For example, if let's say if any manager or if any person would say someone that you can be terminated, right? There are the chances that if you will do this, you can get terminated, right? So now I can think of the worst possible scenario, that what if I get terminated, then what would happen, right? I would think of the worst possible scenarios. But at the same time, after thinking about those worst case scenarios, I can prepare myself beforehand to come up with that solution. I can apply, I can perform well. I can apply for the different employment opportunities, right? So worst case scenarios at times prepare you beforehand, or they are sometimes good. So that's what the black people with the black thinking hat would be doing, right? And it's often said that what you would be doing is, in your organization, you would be gather different people, and you would select one person at a time to take the perspective about that thing, right? You would be taking that one specific hat to know about their perspective, and then you can move on towards the other thinking hat. And then as a whole, you can think about the process to mitigate that problem, to solve that problem by wearing a blue hat, right? And it's not necessary that it's suitable for the team thing as well. You can, I think you can wear all these hats individually as well, or at the one time as well. For example, if I'm thinking about any solution for the first time while thinking about things, I can wear a white hat, and then I can think about the things, and then I can wear a yellow hat, and so on. And there is a very the technique of doing it so can be let me just share that. um, I would like to share that thing with you. Yeah. Okay. That's how I can brainstorm things. That's how I can solve my problems, my team problems as well, right? I can list down blue hat, yellow hat, red hat, black, and the green, and so on, right? Now, my problem is the retention of the employees. So what I can do is, I cannot uh, wear this blue hat at the first step, right? At the first step, I would be wearing this white hat. Now, by wearing this white hat, I can think about the marketing trends, ongoing marketing trends in my organization, and then I can come up with different solutions, and then I can think on different facts as well. And then on the basis of that, on that facts, I can think while being in green hat. I can address is that how I can address these issues creatively, right? After listing down all these issues, I can move on towards the red hat. I can then wear the red hat, and then I can think about what would be the emotional impact of that decision. So that's how you can all do all these things. And I have done all these things in this uh, project management software with the name of Trello, Trello.com, right? So you can create a board, you can do brainstorming on this board like this, right? So that's how we can also brainstorm our ideas. Okay, so coming towards the last thing, which in conclusion, which I would be glad to share that. Okay, so that's how we can solve the problems, and be it in your personal life, be it in your professional lives, it's always been encouraged that become the part of the solution. There is a very famous author, Robin Sharma. He often says that you should become the part of the solution rather than becoming the part of the problem, right? We should have this clear thing in our mind that in this world, everyone is going through different issues, everyone is going through something, and we should be kind enough, we should be empathetic enough, we should be compassionate enough to understand that and how we can be supportive towards each other. How we can, and if you are a manager, we should think that how we can implement that empathetic leadership in our organization, right? Because your personal values, you would be bringing those personal values to anywhere, be if you are working in any organization, you would be bringing those personal values in that organization or in that social setting. So make sure to be empathetic enough, to compassionate enough, to kind enough to understand the other problems and to work in the teams to support each other. And this is the picture on which I would like to end my discussion session, is that try to not have this me attitude while working in the teams. Try to have this we attitude while working in the teams or working with each other. So that's all from my side. And I would like to take in your questions. And along with that, there is my address to reach out to me if you would have to discuss anything, if you would have to give the feedback about this discussion session. You can do it on the Facebook, you can do it on my LinkedIn address, or you can just write it on me to my email address, right? So that's all. If you have any questions, then we can definitely take them. Yeah.
Yeah, hello everyone. So this is Asma Shraibi from Timor talking to you. So I would like, first of all, to thank you, dear Fatima, for your amazing presentation. We really appreciate how you genuinely share with us your ideas, how you share with us your thoughts, the details of what you are saying in the presentation. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thank you so much, dear participants, for your interactions. You guys are amazing too. I see you on the chat box. You are awesome. So shall we start the Q&A session, dear Fatima?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's start with the first question with Afaf Wardi, who says, is the mind map also a helpful tool for problem solving?
Yeah, exactly. See, even in the mind mapping thing, we somehow do the brainstorming, right? We think of different solutions, we think of different roots of our problems. So I think the mind mapping and the brainstorming, they are interrelated with each other. And this can also be done. Yeah.
Okay, Abdelaziz Jallouli says, can you guide us through the relative skills of problem solving?
Sorry?
Can you see the Q&A section? Or
let me just see.
The question was before Fatima mentions the process, so I think Abdelaziz, he got the answer after.
Okay, can you the relative problem solving?
The 6 steps to solve.
Okay, so yeah. So about the relative skills of problem solving, I think since I have mentioned this thing about at the start of the session as well, that there is not only one way to solve your problems, right? You can solve your problems by whatever the technique that would be suitable for you. It can be that that lynching technique which I have shared. It can be that sort of the 6 problem solving step model that I have shared, and even if it can be the simple your own personal technique as well, which I have shared about myself, that I usually write down the things. I usually make 2 columns. I usually go towards the pros and the cons of the things. So I think there is not only one way to solve the problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And he says also, how do we identify problems from non-problems or challenges?
Okay. Yeah. See, I have mentioned in this problem identification step that it's often said that because I have talked about the brainstorming thing, right? It's not necessary that brainstorming would be the part of the second step. It would only be the part of the root and cause analysis, or it would only be the part of while looking for the different alternate solutions, right? It can be the part of the problem identification as well. You would have to do a lot of brainstorming. You would have to think about what are the things. You have to write down the things that are exactly worrying you, right? Uh, when you list down all these things, then you'll do further brainstorming on these things that what exactly I can do about them, right? If these are the problems or not, right? At times it just happens that the things which we think that are the problems, they are not exactly the problems, right? So a lot of brainstorming is required. And also there is a one technique also you can do is to talk to people, right? You can take from the organizational perspective, I would say. You can take interviews from different people about that specific problem. And for the personal perspective, I would say talk to different people, talk to your friends, which you think that they can basically guide you. They can come up with some sort of things, or they can some talk of you can talk to them, right? At times it happens that when we talk to different people, right, we often get the answers, right? So that's how you can do as well, other than the brainstorming.
Yeah, thank you.
Always think about those 6 people which we have discussed: the what, why, who, where, and when, right? You just have to address all these people, all these 5 W's to dig out or to identify your problem.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very clear. We got your point. So moving to Ruqayya's question, she says, I can't see the difference between the complicated problems and the complex problems. Can you please give more examples to compare between them?
Okay, so when we talk about the complicated problem, right? When I talk about the complicated problem, in the complicated problem, you somehow have an idea about the problem, right? For example, I have quoted that car example. I somehow have an idea about my car is making the noises, right? It's making weird noises. So now I know what exactly is the problem, but I am not sure about the solution of the problem. The cause is known to me, but the effect is not known to me. The solution is not known to me, for which I will be going to the domain of the expert, or for which I'll be going towards different experts to identify the effect of the problem as well, right? Whereas in the complex problem, uh, you are not sure about the problem and you are not sure about the solution, right? You're not aware about what exactly is causing the problem, and you're not aware about what would be the solution. What is happening, you have no idea about that. Why it is happening, you also have no idea about that, right? And with the help of the hit and the trial method, you can come up with the solution. Whereas in the complicated problems, for the solution, you try to communicate with the domain of the expert. So this is how the difference between both.
Thank you. And we have Ramrami, who says, how can we be rational about our problem without exaggerating the situation? And how do we put our problems into perspective?
Okay, just hold on. And experience in the past memories too, we tend to rely on to solve our problems. How can we be rational about the problems? Okay, so see, being rational about your problems. I mean, for example, I always say that when you make a decision, right? We have talked about the 6 thinking hat process, right? Uh, the red hat is the person who usually take decisions on the basis of emotions, right? On the basis of the intuition, on the basis of that epiphany, which I have mentioned, right? Whereas when we talk about the rational decision making, in the rational decision making, you go towards the each step, right? That sixth step which we have discussed, that is exactly about the rational decision making. You follow the first step, right? You identify the problem, then you think of different solutions, and then you pick and choose one problem, one solution, and then you make a decision on that solution, and then you implement that solution. And then you rationally observe whether that solution is working or not, right? Even while identifying the problems, you first have to know about the facts,